Hey there, fellow wanderers. Tonight, we slip into the shadows, into the ruthless, haunted world of medieval assassins. Picture it. Stone streets beneath your worn leather boots, the scent of wet wood clinging to the alley walls, and a tattered cloak barely keeping the cold from your bones. A single lantern flickers above, casting gold across the filth-soaked ground. Your heartbeat pounds, not with glory, but with fear. Because in this world, fear keeps you alive. This isn't fantasy. This is blood, betrayal and darkness, stitched into every step you take. So before you get too comfortable, hit like and subscribe, but only if you're ready to walk this path with your eyes open. And tell me, where are you listening from tonight? What time is it where the shadows begin to fall? Now kill the lights, and let the fan hum like a distant wind through narrow alleys. Welcome to the real darkness. Let's begin. As you navigate this clandestine existence, you might wonder how those before you preserved their sanity amidst peril. Maybe indulge us by posting your location and local time. It's interesting to see where you are in this world, as we traverse through another era. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The story commences at the very start of your journey into this shadowed world. You might have been enticed by the whisper of adventure and the allure of free roam across realms uncharted. It's a pathway laden with myths that shimmer invitingly. However, what you don't often hear about are the long, solitary nights and the pervasive uncertainty that pervades this existence. Your path was perhaps set in motion the moment you found an intriguing message slipped under your door. It might have been a cryptic note, beckoning you toward a secret order with the promise of wealth and influence. Yet this invitation is wrapped tight with risks that those words have conveniently glossed over. And here you stand, at the edge of this world, contemplating if this is truly what you desire. Within this historical tapestry, many facets come together to weave the life of an assassin. It's a solitary realm where self-reliance is key. Bound by strict codes and secrecy, your ties to the outside world grow tenuous at best. The freedom isn't what you'd imagined. Instead, it's replaced by the burden of remaining unseen and the constant dread of betrayal. Historians still argue whether this shadowy occupation originated solely for political maneuvers or whether economic desperation played a significant role. The factual narrative acknowledges assassins often found themselves as pawns, manipulated by the hands of those more powerful. And you can't overlook that this was rarely a path chosen easily. Often it was a merger of circumstances, spilled opportunity, and bloody necessity forcing hands. As you step deeper into this reality, you'll need to master the subtle art of balance. Striking between fear and bravado, every move is calculated, every ally weighed for loyalty that may flutter as weakly as the candlelight illuminating them. It's essential to operate at the margins, where infamy meets invisibility. The fringe tales too poke through with whimsical audacity. There are whispered rumours of rogues who once leveraged an avian friend, yes, a trained bird, as a scout during their operations. It's a quirky addition to your historical understanding, illustrating the depths of creativity spawned from dire need. Yet, make no mistake, amidst this murky gameplay swirls a chaos from which you cannot shield yourself. There's a razor-thin edge upon which your ambitions dance, offering no assurances about tomorrow. Combat skills, quick wits, and an understanding of the human mind become your most cherished weapons. Shadows wound tighter around you, binding you in solitude, as your senses heighten to catch any whispers of betrayal. But as you integrate deeper into this submerged society, the realization blooms that you're much less a lone wolf, and more an uncanny part of an intricate theatre. Each figure in this assassin's cast has a role to play, a complex game of shadows and light. It's a delicate chess game on a massive board, where one wrong move could prove fatal. And sometimes your opponent doesn't play by the rules you thought you knew. Nighttime becomes your daytime, with stars guiding your clandestine activities beneath the cover of darkness. Hold fast to the flutter of your heartbeat. It's the rhythm of survival, in a world where vulnerability is not an option. It's tempting, isn't it, to plunge further, to feel the taut string of anticipation pull taut as you uncover your next calculated move. as the moon wearily hovers overhead, casting spectral light over your face. This is just the beginning of a convoluted path stretching before you. Life within the cloak of shadows is anything but simple, but here it's your reality to navigate with deft precision and caution. This existence is a paradox of sorts, adventure laced heavily with the intrigue of peril, and thus you begin your journey, enveloped in an adventure that's as endless as the journey it represents, wondering how far you'll go and what you'll find. Expounding upon this, our tales will only entangle further, exploring more deeply the web of life as a medieval assassin. Sweet dreams are woven heartily in the night. You stand poised at the brink of immersive training, the essence of which veers sharply from the dreamy montages one might expect. Your introduction to the shadowed arts demands not just your focus, but your resilience in adapting to its rigor. Picture a secluded courtyard, dimly lit by torches flickering in the evening air, where your instructors are as unforgiving as the brittle stone beneath your feet. Training to become a medieval assassin is a crucible, each day meticulously designed to shed the weaker parts of yourself, leaving behind only what is absolutely essential for survival. Physical conditioning tops the list, and as you begin, remember that laxity has no place here. You trudge along, your muscles burning with the unforgiving ache of repetitive drills designed to hone agility, flexibility, and strength. The mundane but essential practice sees you mastering feats from scaling walls and blending into murky silhouettes to wielding an assortment of primitive but effective weapons. You learn to move silently. The echo of footfalls in echoes of time must never betray your presence. An inherent part of your curriculum includes the art of improvisation, embracing the spontaneity of battle, often bearing only wit and a dagger to defend yourself. As part of this indoctrination into the darker arts, your mind is subject to the same moulding. Lessons unravel in cryptic dialects, old parchments inked with centuries-old knowledge. You're drilled intensely in the subtleties of persuasion, deception, and reading human behavior, a dexterity as essential as your dagger. This cognitive aspect ignites the more sinister part of your training, focusing on strategic misdirection and subtlety, skill sets that become your signatures, leaving behind no sound, no trace, except the haunting lament of a job executed to perfection. It might come as a surprise, but laughter is not absent from this grim maze. After all, even here humanity peeks through. Instructors often share stories during repose, tales of deals gone haywire or lessons rustically learned. An anecdote about a mentor found tangled in his own tripwire during a demonstration draws chuckles and serves as a cautionary tale. You learn to appreciate these slivers of levity amid a landscape otherwise charged with tension. Historians still argue whether these rigorous trainings were centralized, or if smaller, more clandestine gatherings of would-be assassins existed, passing on fragmented knowledge through generations. Certainly, each aspiring dagger-wielding apprentice found a unique way to tread this treacherous path, although the foundational principles remain largely consistent. Quirks abound, even in the intense environment of training you now know well. Among these is the absurd yet practical preparation some undertake, such as the famous account of novices honing balance by traversing logs blindfolded, while villagers wager on their outcomes. As humorous as these practices may sound, they underscore the necessity of discipline and creativity in your line of work. Throughout your days, a nagging question lingers. For what noble, self-serving end do you endure this grueling preparation? Perhaps for the semblance of power? The camaraderie with fellow seekers, or simply because you've no safety net, and retreat is rendered impossible by ever-looming threats. The isolation folds over itself into thick layers, revealing that liberation, while promised, is a distant mirage. Cold reality is paired with each abraded sterility, a salient reminder that beneath the painstakingly instilled skills, uncertainty clings like a second skin. As you revisit that solitary courtyard, steps fluid and assured, a conviction crystallizes. You've only just embarked upon a grander quest, a journey that continuously tests, compels, and orders you towards a distant mastery, shrouding every step ahead in equal parts of mystery and hard-earned wisdom. This unsparing routine carves its place into your being, whispering truths as the beige daylight tips its hat to the encroaching violet dusk. Every notch on your weathered belt holds narratives of endurance. Each shadow you dissolve into speaks the language of learned invisibility. Though you may yearn for straightforward days spent basking in sun-filtered simplicity, the dark calls to you. the only realm where your spirit acknowledges a companionable, twisted kinship. You bear witness to your transformation from naive participant into a formidable figure endowed with acute observation and lethally honed instincts. The path laid ahead remains fraught with challenge, yet here you stand, forged in the fires of relentless training. You've embraced it all, the bruises, countless scrapes, and the subsequent, oftentimes perilous victories that have become your story to own and thrive in. And thus your training concludes, not with a deafening fanfare, but in the deliberate dimming of torchlight, a nod to how far you've come, and how the vistas expanded forth will demand every shadow forged into your sinew. The moon rises omnipotently. You realize. The true call of adventure echoes louder in the still of night, coaxing you onward in cloaked steps. Equipped with hard-earned skills from your rigorous training, the next phase beckons, mastering the art of disguise and camouflage. It's not just about slipping into another identity, but becomes a dance, a choreographed blend of cloaks, shadows, and a mindset as flexible as the clothing you don. Forget the glamorized image of nobleman masquerades. Often, your new skin is far less ornate, more practical, and sometimes uncomfortably scratchy. Picture an ordinary marketplace where the interplay of vibrant silks and faded linens provide a cacophony of colors to disappear into. Disguise in the medieval world is a craft underpinned by an understanding of human perception and attention, or rather, lack thereof. The key is in becoming nondescript, an everyman in every aspect. The woolen cloaks may not be fashionable, but their drab hues are a boon, blending seamlessly with the crowd. The weight of a beggar's garb, with its patches and the occasional insect hitchhiker, is a small price for anonymity. Collars pulled high, hats shadowing faces, shoes that scuff silently on cobblestones. Such details shield you from prying eyes. Pass in grandeur, yet unmatched in the art of concealment. In such moments you discover the quirkiness that history sometimes overlooks. One might don a peasant's garb and cultivate the stoop of old age, or borrow the hunch of labour to sink deeper into the landscape of anonymity. Outlandish methods abound, including tales of assassins using a veil made from stolen altar cloths to blend in religious processions, or dishevelled wigs crafted hastily from shorn horsehair. A small craft with serious outcomes, these tactics often elicit an unsaid, self-satisfied smirk at their stark absurdity. Intertwined with these tenets of disguise is the importance of understanding the social dance of the time. Knowing which patterns of behaviour define everyone from bustling merchants to hushed clergy is as crucial as your attire. A respective nods amidst bustle and barter, a deft mimicking of whispered exchanges, these enable you to fade, to transcend the fabric you wear and live momentarily in the borrowed life you must portray. Throughout history, the parameters of disguise have often sparked debate. Historians still argue whether certain obscure techniques were steeped in cultural norms or individual ingenuity punctuating the boundaries of daring acts one might hear whispered in scholarly archives. What holds true, however, is that without mastering this skill, the survival and success of your endeavours sharply decline. Let's not forget the occasional gaffe this artful deception incurs. Misplaced accents that betray an origin, anachronistic gestures that raise suspicion. A story finds its unsteady legs in your memory. That time, back in a crowded inn, you dropped the wrong dialect while deep in character, only to be saved by the cacophony of drunken revelry masking the slip-up. Humorous footnotes. They act as reminders of the precarious line you toe in your self-imposed. Upon nightfall, with moonlit streets as your runway and nocturnal attendees the audience, your evolution taps forward. Forms flicker in the corner of your eye, those who have invested in finely silken stories, their every step a potential misstep marked by the clandestine. From the simple to elaborate, you've wound silk threads around your cloak, blending seamlessly as a storyteller, a merchant, a ghost flickering at the corners of societal vision. Though our journeys have just begun, the emotional sweep of self-transformation provides the bridge into the thick of medieval mystery. As shadows stretch, lapping at the hem of your disguise like inky waves against a pier, you recognize the embrace of incognito, an enabler, and at times an insidious encumbrance tethered to this life's board. You find yourself woven into the textile of a sprawling tableau, and each shifted identity, piece by piece, aids in your ultimate goal. And so, with the learned metal tapped softly against instinctual edges, low murmurings of dusk encapsulate this moment. You are carried forward, onto paths waiting to converge with fate's pen, documenting acts beneath a moonlight gloss. The art of disguise continues to shroud, enabling the next facet of your deliberately concealed life to unfold as seamlessly as twilight into night. The tale writes itself, stretching its roots deeper into intrigue, just waiting to be unveiled by you. Armed with your honed skills of disguise, you move to the next, more tangible aspect of your profession, the tools of the trade. This gallery of grim instruments and unusual apparatus is crucial, each piece a testament to the innovation driven by necessity. While tales often imbue these with a sinister aura of sophistication, many of your available options veer closer to rustic pragmatism than sleek precision. Picture the dagger, an extension of your will housed in a simple leather sheath, always within reach and as haunting as its shadow. Far removed from grand swords of nobility, the dagger is efficient, easily concealed, its edge whispering the language of quick decisions and finality. Each edge, each nick in the blade, holds stories of close calls and decisive actions taken in silence. The basic reliability of such weapons often outweighs sheer aesthetic appeal, focusing instead on their unwavering functionality. Then there's the crossbow, your long-range ally. It lacks the elegance of a longbow but compensates with mechanical assurance. The distinct click of its machinery is a reassuring constant in a world of unpredictability. The quarrels it releases find their mark with practiced ease, illustrating a chilling balance between old craftsmanship and the inevitable silence that accompanies your work. But these primary tools are only a part of your inventory. To complement them, you delve into the realm of the unexpected, common household items repurposed for your needs. Everyday objects like powders and herbs transform, blending alchemy with subtlety. A sprinkle here acts discreetly without flair. Poisons, derived from floras such as hemlock, are carefully concocted to leave no lingering trace beside nature's own quietus. Quirky tales ring with the accounts of less conventional weapons. Imagine the scene: a bucket strategically rigged with stones or the puff of a sleeping powder, transported silently in a weathered pouch. A practitioner might chat amid a weathered pouch, armed only with a sharp fragment of bone, an impromptu weapon, gleaned from a feast that dictated necessity. Yet with every tool there is the prevalent risk of failure or betrayal. Equipment demands maintenance. Allies a careful scrutiny, foreshadowing that trust in tools mirrors trust in those who forge or provide them, as treachery often seeds itself within familiarity. Ruin may beckon amidst hubris's shadow. Consider the anecdote of an ill-fated spy who lubricated their blade with oil unbeknownst to the distinct aroma that ultimately betrayed them. The flexibility of your approach sometimes finds itself limited by resources, a salient reminder that, despite the web of skills and gadgetry at your disposal, you're ever at the mercy of what can be procured. Historians still debate the influence of economics on the tools available to those working in shadows. Those frugally armed with little may craft victories while the richly outfitted falter, debunking the mythos that wealth translates directly into effectiveness. A harmonious balance between utilization and ingenuity evolves, each crafted tool an argument both for and against prevailing conventions. You adapt your implements to suit the environment. The clatter of chainmail makes way for padded cloaks when silence is key, and clattering armor yields to pliant leather that shifts like water between gaps unseen. As nocturnal winds usher twilight's full embrace, imagine each item whispering in alignment with whispered breaths of tactics. Cloaked figures, determined to sway one side's favor in unseen battles, employ their critical tools with precision, each scuffle annotated against a world wondering where shadows converge, illuminating a cryptic dance never to be reenacted. This curated symphony of curious instruments draws a line in sand and spirit, binding you within a network of obligation and opportunity, where every soundless movement tells a story woven from courage and necessity. As your arsenal becomes an integral part of your existence, it grants you access to the silent language of survival and secrecy. Each tool, whether blade, powder, or quiver, proposes questions as complex as they are practical, questions echoing as much through history as within the confines of your somber, restless heart. Through this lens, your journey shifts, teasing what could await at the next fracture in the labyrinthine existence you now lead, and the night unveils, shrouding you in its protection as the game continues. The tools are laid bare, and with them, so is your fate. Shadows keep their silent vigil, the guardians of tales only half whispered but endlessly pondered in the waning light of a forgotten sun. With your tools assembled and your skills sharpened, the next stage unfurls. Assignments and contracts, the very heart of an assassin's life. It's where intention meets opportunity, hidden within the shadowy exchanges that fuel your existence. Forget noble proclamations or grand councils. These contracts are often sealed with a whispered word, a discreet nod, or a clandestine mark on weathered parchment, tucked away where only those with the trained eye can decipher meaning. Within these arrangements, you're confronted with the erratic dance of negotiations, slanted by danger and duplicity. Every face across the dimly lit table could belong to a friend today, a foe tomorrow, their smiles concealing labyrinthine intents. This is your arena, an unregulated market where lives are weighed, quantified, and eventually called for a gritty reality often sanitized by sanitized accounts of history. The perilous nature of your profession flowers here. You learn swiftly that trust, if it exists at all, is a currency exchanged with wary reluctance. Contracts are convoluted things, riddled with stipulations that can change at a whim. Historians still argue over whether these agreements were binding or simply placeholders for expediency's sake. After all, words mean little without the resolve to see them through. You recall an assignment, a distant memory whispered through time, where a poorly penned contract nearly ensnared you in a trap. Cunning clients with silver-tongued promises learn too well how to wield machinations as freely as you wield a blade. Negotiations devolve into tacit games where stakes are marked by silent tension, your palms tracing parchment while your instincts scan fraught, flickering eyes. And then there are the unexpected absurdities. Those contracts bearing comically vague instructions, meant perhaps to test your creativity or resilience. Consider the tale of a young assassin given a contract that was, in truth, a ploy to double as a diversion, sparking chaos in a rival guild and resulting in inexplicable consequences never intended by the original signees. Vexing, but this narrative allows fortitude to hone itself, illustrating the binding essence of adaptability amidst chaos. These contracts, though fraught with danger, offer an eerie shape of order in an otherwise chaotic life. It is here that your motivations are tried and tested. Coins exchange like fleeting leaves in an autumn wind, yet, for many, it's not merely about payment, but principle, intrigue, and at times, survival. Each signed agreement weaves through your exploits, leaving stains invisible but resolute against the tapestry of your clandestine existence. The varied clientele each bring unique smoke and mirrors to their dealings. You might negotiate with a frantic missive from a desperate merchant, the assurance of anonymity promised through gritted teeth and averted eyes. Or perhaps a noble's envoy requests a favour, thence veils of courtly etiquette barely disguising the venom coiled within polite language. Even shamans, mystics of the land, might call upon your services, their powers enchanting the very thread of reality. As night folds you into its embrace, these meetings are cradled in sanctuaries of shadow, protected corners away from the prying gaze of the world above. The stories of old may populate this clandestine realm with whispers of covert councils and grand conspiracies, but perhaps the truth lies in the mundane, where intent cuts deeper than any blade, where even simple gestures tipped decisions of life and death. A fringe element whispers through the community that of the mystical artisans drafting contracts accompanied by protective incantations or charms ostensibly designed to fortify the agreement, emblazoning paperwork not only with ink but with a curious brand of superstition. Navigating this world beneath the veil of society is a precarious high-wire act, demanding a perpetual balancing act between avarice, loyalty, and prescient intuition. More than once, you've perhaps wondered what choices you made that led this life, locking you to such precarious exchanges. And yet, you walk the same path, stepping lightly across stepping stones of foreboding agreements. Your mind weighs the calculus of risks. Your heart echoes with nameless resolve as you accept each pact that turns the intangible into your lived reality. These contracts, the lifeblood of your craft, seal with them your whispers in eternity's ear, immortal inscriptions marking paths chosen and vows brokered, all sealed beneath the breath of shadow. As moonbeams punctuate these clandestine corridors, you remain poised at the cusp of your next endeavour, a testament to the inscrutable depths awaiting discovery, the unspoken promises marking each night's minstrelsy, as you negotiate with destiny. Amidst the tension of securing contracts, your life unfolds on the road, a testament to transience rendered necessary by your profession's demands. Each journey is a paradox, as thrilling in its promise of new sights as it is fraught with familiar dangers. The romantic notion of travel, riding under open skies with wind whipping across your face, quickly wanes into a bruising adherence to reality, tempered by mud-soaked boots and biting cold seeping through threadbare cloaks. Consider the roads less travelled, paths where the echoes of footsteps are smothered by clods and rivulets defying cartography. You trudge through the rain, cursing yet another sodden mile while the skies loom grey and unyielding. The restless murmur of leaves overhead and the incessant drone of insects accompany your solitary trek, a natural symphony punctuated by the crunch of underbrush and the distant off-key howl of wolves. But these paths are more than mere routes. They're arteries, connecting village life, trade and opportunity. A network where news, clandestine or otherwise, flutters like unsettled smoke. In these travels you glean insight into medieval society's pulse, where village politics and whispered gossip reveal more about your quarry than any map could. Each settlement is an enigma, host to shadows darker than your own, as you navigate inns riddled with pockmarked tables and barmaids' clipped laughter, beware the ale served with the bittersweet promise of distraction or treachery. Here, folklore abounds, enriching the charter of tales shared among drafts, and broom a tapestry of stories metamorphosing into myth with each fanciful retelling. There's one story of a chapel deep in the woods, a favourite anecdote among travellers, where an assassin, seeking refuge, stumbled upon the mischief of sprites said to haunt it. Derailing plans with superstitious curses and misplacement of equipment. It's nonsense, most certainly, yet it reflects the undercurrent of belief woven into every interaction along these roads, despite skeptics shaking heads in disbelief. The logistical trials of your journey often include hefting not just your arsenal, but also nourishing supplies, any trinkets held dear, and half an eye's worth of gadgets for unexpected challenges. Horses, though often romanticised, are rare companions due to their cost and care demands. Fickle beasts they can be, adding hoofbeats to the percussion of your impending presence. A complication in your pursuit of discretion. You'll possibly meet fellow souls of questionable repute, merchants whose wares are as dubious as their origin tales, minstrels lounging with their instruments strung across backs, peddlers of curiosities, and even the rare, untraceable alchemist selling brews promising fortunes and failures. Such encounters, ever unpredictable, add texture to your solitary ventures. A wry smile often unravels when recalling a travel companion's not-so-well-thought-out escapades involving a nefarious attempt to conduct business that ultimately ended with him evading a rather persistent wild boar. Historians still debate the significance of travel in fostering cultural exchange amongst the shadowed craft, a point countered by others questioning whether these journeys were more isolating than enlightening. And yet, it is irrefutable that such journeys were an inescapable reality for anyone engaged in more ambiguous professions. Imagining each leg of your journey, a question materializes. At what point do these roads converge? Where daylight ends and your mission begins, roads lead to thresholds where possibilities unfurl, bridges across which your mantled shadow falls. Each step a conscious negotiation with converging fates and potential adversaries churned from the churned soil. Thus, with each venture from one point to another, you blend forward into the fold of ancient cobbled streets awaiting your cadence. In this rhythm, you arrive and depart with assurance, interactions masked by cloaks of concealment, leaving fragments of yourself in footprints quickly washed away by time. Your travels, dictated by duty, illustrate a canvas painted with the spectre of impermanence. Each mile conquered, whispering the promise of both new faces in the mist and potential echoes from paths previously traversed. Each new venture spins yet another tale, suspended between accident and agency as you draw closer to merging your creed beneath a moonlit vault. In the soft embrace of arriving twilight, you acquire a momentary reprieve, drinking in the night air with the resigned sigh of inevitability. Each step on such journeys is a testimony to perseverance, a moment forged within bounds, yet transcending borders imagined by those you pass unseen. The road, world's spiderweb, extends ever outwards from this device of destiny you tread with intricate care. Travelling under changing skies, dodging pitfalls and navigating unknown terrains brings you closer to each new target. However, The task of eluding capture is a discipline all its own, an exhausting mental chess match, pitting your cunning against the diligence of those who would see you confined. Here, plausible deniability becomes your closest ally, with quick adaptation as essential as the air you breathe. The medieval landscape is not an idyllic backdrop, but a mosaic of ever-present threats. From suspicious townsfolk clutching their religious beliefs, to the vigilant guards policing with zealous certainty, every village marker, forest crossing and mountain pass must be carefully assessed for its viability as both entry and escape. Perhaps you found it prudent to cultivate friendships with innocuous-seeming allies, be they innkeepers or seasoned travellers, whose silence can be purchased at a fair price, or, sometimes, a simple nod towards mutual regard. Their whispered tips, whether genuine concern or veiled threat, guide your hand as you map out potential retreats before ever announcing your arrival. Integral to your repertoire is the deceptive dance of identity, avoiding the slip of fumbling over falsehoods by seamlessly spinning tales at a moment's notice. A travelling apothecary, a wandering minstrel, a repentant pilgrim, you weave narratives to protect your truth. Each facade is a layer of protection, contingencies within contingencies to shield against prying eyes or probing queries. In a rare moment of shared levity, you recall tales of past mishaps, an acquaintance whose cover was nearly blown due to an unexpected sneeze at the wrong time, quickly masked by a convenient story of hay fever. Such stories, humbling as they are, reflect the thin edge on which you perpetually balance, the fine line between dexterous evasion and fatal miscalculation. Despite the unpredictability, one peculiar advantage you maintain is humanity's own penchant for distraction, for bothering more with the ostentatious than the subtleties creeping past the periphery. Historians still argue whether the true skill lies in invisibility or distraction, a subtle interplay that only the most astute recognize, lies not opposite, but aligned along the spectrum of their craft. The significance of timing, ensuring that your plans coincide with moments best obscured by natural cover or communal chaos, cannot be overstated. The patience to wait for rain or revelry, then vanish within densely clustered anonymity, becomes second nature. The landscape of each place is rhythmically orchestrated into a theatre where your every act requires precise anticipation and execution. The improvisational spontaneity of your methods occasionally necessitates strange habits, like adhering fish scales to clothing to blend in the marketplace, or more extreme lengths like diving into rye fields to avoid patrols. Amidst the variety of tales amassed, a favourite anecdote involves an assassin who once escaped by faking an absurd fall from a carriage, only to swiftly evade capture while everyone scrambled thinking he succumbed to some invisible force. Each city, each village, remains haunted by its own memories of encounters with spectres such as yourself, peripheral apparitions in their villager mythologies. Despite the cautious respect this duality inspires in some, others see your very existence as an affront to rigid structures, a reminder of the blurred moralities swaying between lawful and unlawful actions. Your constant vigilance grows to consuming importance. Paranoia, possibly justified, grips, and every whispered sound or moment's stillness resonates with potential menace. However, you persist, honing the battle between assurance and caution into an art. In evasion lies the paradoxical certainty of choice. Whether it's the forest's protective embrace or a crowded bazaar's subtle chaos, shadows unfurl beneath the rays of both moonlight and glare, permitting you to weave unseen among them. The path forward threads needle-like through converging lives, each of your decisions marked by deliberate asynchrony with those laid in waiting. Thus, with certainty unyielding and mind unrelenting, you traverse your calling with quiet decision, a delicate interplay spun across the tapestry of destinies unfurling under the night's enveloping shroud. The road less visible is yours to navigate, rewriting each passage in encrypted silence, born of necessity and tempered experience. Through this transience, your journey extends ever onward, echoing with clandestine whispers that fade into dusk's quiet embrace. Even in the best of circumstances, the life of an assassin hinges on meticulous planning and precision, so naturally some assassination attempts fall spectacularly short. These moments, where plans unravel in the blink of an eye, make for stories tinged with a mix of grim humour and tense reflection. Imagine you've laboured meticulously, spent nights sketching layouts in your mind, watching patterns from shadowed corners, and rehearsing movements until they tape seamlessly into your muscle memory. Then, fate, as it invariably likes to do, laughs in your face, unraveling threads so painstakingly wound. Perhaps a glint of moonlight betrays your position, or an unexpected bout of rain changes the evening's architecture. The convergence of miscalculations can commence with something as simple as an acolyte stumbling unexpectedly, a participant not accounted for in your reconnaissance shattering the stillness from which you hoped to strike, or the collapse of a perch slick with dew places you inelegantly in an undignified heap at your target's feet. A moment of improvisation turned into sheer spectacle. These echoes of missteps serve as a mockery of fate, and the should-have-beens that circle your path like flighty spectres. There are stories of seasoned assassins seemingly thwarted by the smallest of details, a rogue breeze that eradicated your chance at seamless retreat, or a stray feline whose plaintive yowl pointed curious eyes your way. One renowned tale involves a young assassin whose path was impeded by an unexpectedly stubborn goat, leading to a series of unfortunate mishaps that culminated in a rather ignominious retreat and an unexpected local friendship thereafter. These failures and near misses expose the unforgiving nature of medieval communication. Historians still argue whether these virtual disasters owe themselves more to the rudimentary conveyance systems or sheer human error, though often it is a tragic marriage of both, forging a sequence that ensures even the slightest perturbation ripples into a conundrum. Complexities wax and wane. Maidens' ties revealed too soon by ill-timed bursts of enthusiasm, or bystanders unintentionally taking the attention from your target, leading to confusion and consternation. Each failure compounds the inevitable intrigue surrounding your craft, restoring the oft-laboured discussions of chance versus calculated scheming. The heart of the predicament echoes loudest here, the realization that despite your training and expertise, unpredictability reigns supreme. The enigmatic hum of chaos dances cautiously on the outskirts of every well-laid plan, conspiring to untangle even the densest machinations woven into your method. There's a certain camaraderie to be found in these failed encounters, filled with undertones of gallows humour when whispered among colleagues. Like war stories shared by veterans cloaked in the shadows, these tales reveal humanity's sepulchral self, whether murmured over tankards of coarse ale or conveyed through clandestine correspondence stitched with coded knowing nods. However, missteps can evoke a resourceful agility. The ability to pivot and adapt while under the duress of failure becomes crucial. An unexpected setback might transform into opportunity just as swiftly, a split-second decision marking the line between an eventual retreat and a chance encounter reshaping the odds. Grinning sardonically, you perhaps look back on a time when quick thinking involved distracting authorities with a makeshift fire of sparks, skillfully sparked, the ensuing chaos granting you precious moments to escape. Boundaries between action planned and reaction demanded merge seamlessly within the shadow-veiled life you inhabit. The setbacks, while frustrating, can realign focus into a sharper, more informed perspective. From inelegant beginnings spirals the competence to court risk yet again, where every misstep is a lesson imparted through the stark emancipation of humility. Yet, even as these precarious tales unfurl under the solemn cascade of stars, you find solace in silent acceptance, an affirmation that within imperfection lies growth, and within botched endeavours opportunities still await their moments revealing. The night offers no judgments, casting its veil over successes and failures alike as the story threads forward, flickering candlewicks of caution dancing upon the drafty echoes of past ventures. Here, within the turbulent whirls of mishaps avoided and moments abated, the shadows are your sanctuary, still, reminding you that every path boasts both its victories and its inevitable detours. Here you chart the course anew, a quest for mastery inside the whispered promises of the night. As the moon charts its course across the heavens, you're propelled deeper into the life of shadows, a life complicated by constant inner conflicts and the relentless push and pull of moral ambiguity. The thrill of the hunt, the precision of the kill, and the subsequent echo of silence carry with them a calculus of ethical contemplation, often revered silently in the confines of solitude. In this silent realm, your reflections tread a delicate balance between necessity and humanity. You weigh the vulnerabilities of your targets against the unanimous knowledge of your capability to dismantle them. As you peer into the lives disrupted or ended by your hand, a flicker of doubt may creep in, unbidden, from the darkest recesses of your heart. The internal debate pits what is viewed as necessity against the twinges of empathy that birth questions of the sanctity of life. Consider the frayed rope of justification. Existence in the medieval world often blurs morality with political pragmatism. Historians still argue about whether the role of assassins was purely Machiavellian or if remnants of a moral compass guided them amidst the chaos. It's amidst such contentious debates you seek your own truths, a moral compass not necessarily bound by contemporary structures of right and wrong, but by personal principles carved from survival. While your trade demands one perception, the shadows offer another, a narrative often unspoken, yet clearly etched within the fibres of every decision. Your life is not without its vestiges of conscious haunting, shards of humanity clung to, even skeptically, that inspire deeper introspection amidst the swift orchestration of each mission. In rare moments of candour, amidst the relative safety of anonymity, camaraderie builds, however tentatively, with others who share the same path. You may find refuge in open discourse with peers, stories of abidance and rebellion etched into experiences shared cautiously, observations spun over fireside musings between missions like thread woven into fabric. Amidst this clandestine community lies the cathartic humour inherent in examining difficult choices, reaction-curling lips recalling the time when, despite your role, you saved a throng of ducklings from an errant cart simply because you could. The absurdity of innocence intersecting with a life bent on expedience reminds you of choices beyond survival, a contrast against the stark truths surrounding your daily reality. In the flicker of flame-licked shadows, you ponder the tales of other figures enmeshed in the web of morality constraining survival. Stories of those who, despite darkened fates, served not as Shadow's executioner, but as its reluctant ambassador. Warped tales that inspire moments of discernment when humanity's artifacts scrawl their own more complex narrative. Yet moral tug-of-war persists, exacerbated by reminders of humanity's frailty, temper fueled by both cunning and sentiment. A jigsaw puzzle where pieces sometimes repel rather than align, with pockets of silence created in every sweeping movement. You find time to question your place within this tessellated society, introspection revealed through the slits of time. Fringe elements exist as well, tales told of assassins who adopted purifying rituals, seeking redemption even as they executed their grim tasks. Rumours of clandestine shrines existing in forest glades, acting as bridges between the duties dispensed and quiet atonement sought, blurring lines between myth and history, offer some solace to those yearning to reconcile dichotomous existences. Yet, as the echoes of twilight gather, morality's whisper folds softly, marking the ends of chapters reluctantly scripted by an anti-hero's creed within your marrow. The complexity of conscience invites reflection, ebbing like waves back and forth, unresolved with each fleeting daybreak. Come nightfall, under skies stitched with constellations, there remains past experience's ornate tapestry woven through momentary illuminations of introspection, amidst an ever-changing moral landscape painted by the delicate traces of your choices. Indeed, the delicate dance of duty and stomach-churning reckoning follows faithfully, yet with each turn, a deeper understanding emerges of the nuances threading your existence in this world of shadows. As the dark inevitably abates, twilight's embrace offers momentary respite, a sanctuary from deliberations hovering like mist, promises sealed by the encroaching dawn's silence. Breathing rests within its grasp. It acknowledges the shared struggle across horizons wide, awaiting the next arrival, to unburden anew. Beyond the murky waters of ethical dilemmas lies another domain as crucial to your survival as your sharpened blade: the creation and maintenance of misinformation networks. It's a delicate weave, reliant on cunning stratagems and a web of deceit, with whispering threads of rumour cementing your anonymity and catering to misdirection, even as you remain but a shadowed figure in the background. Imagine stepping into a bustling tavern filled with heady scents of warm bread and spiced ale, where the smallest of exchanges ripple through the air like notes played on a lute. In this lively atmosphere, quiet interactions take root, laying the groundwork for a labyrinthine network as essential as it is intoxicating. Here, stray whispers exchanged over mugs become pivotal intelligence. Secrets traded for silence resonate with utmost clarity to your trained ear. Your cloak becomes a second skin, as entries into these social circles demand more than mere performance. They demand the crafting of stories convincing enough to alter perceptions. A master of illusion, you thread conversations with layers of falsehood and partial truth, guiding narratives down diverging paths designed to confuse and obscure. The effectiveness lies in the balance. All is woven with deliberate ambiguity, where presumed certainty is the hook and doubt becomes the net. Navigating this world requires discernment, as each network is a double-edged sword liable to cut against you without warning. Historians still argue whether these circles of deception existed as independent constructs, or as a cog-locked symbiosis with more structured affiliations. Nonetheless, you glean utility from their chaotic order, keeping the spirit of espionage alive across borderless realms where creativity secures passage. There's an audacity to parallel intrigues, as illustrated by the quixotic tale of an assassin who successfully leveraged guild feuds by creating fictitious correspondences, inciting raucous contestations that unraveled alliances, subterfuge so audacious it gradually became the whispers of legend, illustrating the perplexing union of craft and craftiness. Within these obscured networks, some individuals thrive on the thrill of the chase, informants you mold subtly into essential cogs of this illusory machine. With intentional alliances cast ashore and back, you decipher motives through discreet observation. The world you contemplated anew each time a contact shares a sliver of intelligence or fabricates a trail meant to lead foes astray. Occasionally, quirks of character take shape, such as whispered tales within circles of a confidant, ridiculously fond of fermented turnip, a predilection humorously recalled as forming part of a successful network of information trades within as wild a derailment as expected from their personal life. The humorless pledges and soft sighs between exchanged secrets offer some levity that your clandestine roles so rarely permits. As rumours converge and diverge, orchestrating checkpoints like starlit constellations, you ensure the network retains flexibility to accommodate the unforeseen. Your curiously dizzying dance courts unpredictability, allowing misaligned precision to breed success, while remaining mindful that success itself can just as easily collapse should hubris cloud judgment. In this world, both familiar and strange, your mind becomes a calculative reel, dispatched to weigh overt verity against shadowy hearsay. The duality inherent in these networks, at once a boon and an obstacle, is a painstaking reminder of every footfall balancing upon a precipice of chance. The enigmatic mechanism of deception represents a force beyond pure survival. It's a living entity, composing narratives in which you play both the scribe and the subject. Yet, through intricacies spun into misinformation's tangled web, the unwavering unanimity surfaces. Securing anonymity protects intent, and by executing calculated whispers, figurative worlds align within place and time. Laughter occasionally beckons from corners unseen, echoing glimpse-worthy anecdotes serving the night's shadowed creed, underscored by mutual yet unproclaimed understanding. Across the corridors of uncertainty and truth alike, games of information stake many levels of enlightenment. Thus, your next step into the fold resonates with surreptitious symmetry, through atmospheric dinner song disguised and deciphered by you alone in solitude, shared tenuously under starlight's orchestral stage. Embers fade into the dawn's glow, offering mute requiem to enterprises of whispered deception. Engaged upon shifting sands and realities the role scripted and perpetuated moves forward, crafted and deciphered delicately, amidst darkness fraying to dusk syllables yet uncovered, flickering whispers for another night's intrigue. Within the swirling nexus of misinformation and deceit, another layer of medieval life emerges that straddles the corporeal and the ethereal, spiritual and superstitious practices. As an assassin in this tumultuous period, your existence often teeters on the brink between life and death, where belief systems and ritualistic practices offer a semblance of control over the uncertainty pervading your life. Imagine an evening when the fog hangs heavily, curling tendrils of mist enfolding you gently as you pause by an aged shrine nestled in a grove. Here, under the waning crescent moon, you might partake in rituals meant to fortify your spirit for the tasks ahead, as you seek guidance or forgiveness from unseen forces. Such nightly acts, part spiritual devotion, part superstitious caution, reflect the duality of your profession. In a world where religious devotion blends seamlessly with folklore, you find yourself grasping at talismans and chants as you navigate dire straits. Saints might be called upon in whispered prayer for protection, even as you pocket trinkets rumored to bring luck or keep evil at bay. For you, these acts are imbued with equal parts faith and the pragmatic understanding of their psychological benefits. a steadying mantra in the face of uncertain futures. The heart of this spiritual interlude reveals intriguing anecdotes. For instance, the tale of a would-be assassin halted by an omen, a raven's abrupt caw just before enacting his mission, interpreted as divine warning. This caused a pause and eventual withdrawal, reshaping paths that, had predestination been ignored, could have reverberated differently through history's narrative. These practices manifest not merely in iconic rituals but in the everyday, including mundane objects imbued with meaning, a feather tucked into your cloak as a charm, policies to ensure no step is misaligned, with promises whispered under breath. Sometimes jest finds its place, like the time a peer was spotted anointing his blade with rainwater, insisting it was blessed with thunder's fortitude, a superstitious quirk drawing equal parts laughter and thought. There's a blend of skepticism and belief tangled within the folds of this existence. Historians still argue whether the attachment to these practices derived from genuine faith or was driven by psychological need amidst the dangerous lives these shadowed figures led. However ludicrous some beliefs might appear, they underscore humanity's yearning for control in a realm where chaos reigns supreme. Yet alongside personal rituals, the collective ritual of guilds and brotherhoods prevails. Ceremonies imbue camaraderie within their closed circles, as these gatherings celebrate triumphs, memorialize failures, and weave the fabric of belonging among those who dwell on society's periphery. The Brotherhood's mythos exudes mythical rites, spoken of only through veiled reference, secret dances, swaying to low murmurs, and the timing of star alignments consulted before crucial decisions, each seeping with more symbolism than practical applicability. Your existence, bound within these spiritual and superstitious realms, transcends beyond simple adherence. It moderates fate's tremors and aligns your mind with purpose-driven tasks. Whether the stars themselves dictate destiny or it develops purely through honed instinct, you grasp faith's ephemeral threads, questioning not its validity but its indisputable presence in a realm dominated by shadows. The insight gained from these moments of reverence and belief reflects an internal mosaic, Hinduism pieces forming a coherent whole. A winding path of enduring yet invisible invocations accompanies your journey, bestowing courage amidst doubt and spectres of fear. The tonic of faith, history retained, remains a guarded bastion from which your contemplative strength derives inspiration against shadows dissipating under light. Through this exploration of spiritual practice, intermingling with superstition, your path expands beyond hidden blades and unwritten contracts. It ventures into the territory of hearts, offering the lyrical chorus of reflected truths spoken in quiet solitude. Thus your narrative progresses, weaving both the ephemeral companions and timeless echoes of belief into the rich tapestry of a life perpetually engaged with destiny's shadowed dance. As dusk yields once more to dawn, the understanding of spiritual fortitude renders itself essential to the essence of survival's intricate art. The presence of spiritual beliefs and superstitions offers both solace and torment, but the spectral cost of failure lurks as an unyielding shadow over your shoulders. Within the profession of an assassin, failure is not merely an inconvenient setback, it is an entity with teeth, grimly reminding you that each misstep holds the peril of irrevocable consequences. In a world as unpredictable as medieval society, every mission carries with it the potential for tragedy. Failure is measured in myriad ways, both immediate and lingering. The haunting spectres of actions unfulfilled may translate into the stark reality of financial devastation, reputations tarnished, and payments withheld, leaving you vulnerable in more ways than one. With no safety net, the economic hit can be as lethal as any blade thirsting for vengeance. But it is not merely coin that can be forfeited. Loss of trust becomes an exponentially damning prospect. Allies once counted on for support and sanctuary might distance themselves or double down in their own distrust, severing connections as surely as cutting through sinew. The gossamer web you expertly weave can disassemble with a single dissonant note of discord, underlined by failure's damning imprint. Failure to achieve one's target injects the insidious elixir of uncertainty as you confront enemies emboldened by your perceived vulnerability. In such situations, every misstep compounds, setting rivalries aflame, kindling vendettas, and increasing the risk of exposure as contracts agitatedly shuffle hands within networks grown impatient for results. The dire echoes of legendary tales reverberate through these unforgiving landscapes, accounts of assassins botching assignments only to fall victim to the failings they wrought, ensnared by curses, imagined or otherwise, bearing gruesome testimonies of plans turned awry. This interconnectedness of actions knots inexplicably with medieval folklore, an entwined dance portraying failure not merely as fate's servant, but as an unnervingly deliberate figure enmeshed in the tapestry. Though the weight of expectation hangs heavy, failure offers neither the balm of sympathy nor the lightness of redemption. Historians still argue whether the burden of these failures was carried more heavily by individuals engaged in assassinations, compared to other professions, or if universal mortality lessened their impact across borders. Nonetheless, within the invisible shadow of adrenaline lies the relentless potential for falter a vivid pulse that beats with every heart trapped within the confines of your craft. There are peculiarities that pepper discussions of failure. Specific entries in the annals tell of attempts recalibrated through dubious means, or would-be assassins forced into corrective actions that entangle error with opportunity, like the stint where an overzealous attempt to poison was averted by a bumbling apprentice turning mistake into embraced solution, complexly transforming blunder into redirected impact. Cunning often cradles unforeseen identities, and through shadow-wrought ingenuity, missteps transform a notion of incredulity into meticulously orchestrated reprieve, salvaging both intent and self amidst unravelled efforts. Throughout these experiences, you learn that accepting failure becomes less of a submission and more a genesis of understanding. Failure becomes a mantle worn by those who tread the precarious line between shadow and light. It attunes senses to balance risk with reward, where one's proof lies not in sidestepping the shadow, but in navigating it. And through the lens of retroflexion, the unspoken cost morphs visually into an inventory, a catalogue body of work that exhibits both scars of survival and testaments to success. These brushstrokes of mishap contribute to a larger canvas, etching the stoic awareness into the underlying foundation of your ongoing journey. In the end, as kaleidoscopic portraits of failure's visage settle, you internalize its lessons, threading resilience through ambiguity's loom. It is with each step forward through twilight's forgiving obscurity that you join those who walk paths unwritten, bearing the price of shadows as both lesson and legacy, an unspoken promise inked on the soul, saturated within wisdom's unrelenting clutch. Thus you embrace an obstinate resolve, remaining undeterred by footsteps occasionally lingering off course, as your tale unfolds into vistas afforded by night's patient embrace. Lessons inscribed within flickering instants continue onward, resurrected by each new dawn's breath, poised to carve existence into the elaborate fabric of history's waiting arms. In the multifaceted world of medieval intrigue, another vital thread runs through your existence: your relationships with those who oversee or orchestrate your deadly craft, the Unforgiving Masters. Navigating these alliances requires a delicate tango of loyalty and skepticism, as these figures wield significant power over your livelihood, walking the fine line between benefactors and potential threats to your autonomy. Envision your masters' figures, often shrouded in authority and mystique, each extending the promise of support, but with expectations that demand stringent adherence to unwritten codes. They are the spindles upon which the wheel of your profession turns, moving with the measured cadence of a conductor, orchestrating a shadowed symphony. Loyalty under these shadowy patrons transforms into currency. It is sought and rewarded, yet may be withheld or severed with alarming decisiveness. The relationship you cultivate with them must be symbiotic, increasingly entwined with reputational discretion and mutual gain. Yet the nature of such alliances often borders on precariousness, their veneer polished with carefully measured words and promises, concealing the jarring unpredictability beneath. Their favour is a crucial bastion, but disfavour carries equally formidable weight, a keystone reminding you always of the venerable creak at the threshold of power. The fragility of their goodwill means fear is an ever-present companion, whisperings of repercussions, and repercussions dangling at the periphery of every misstep or perceived slight. You tread carefully, aligning whims in tow with shadowed leaders whose governance is tenebrous and occasionally ruthless, a panoply of machinations constantly transforming the landscape. The spectrum of characters inhabiting the higher echelons range widely, from calculating merchants seeking competitive advantages, cloaked ecclesiastics balancing morality against clandestine ambition, to nobles intent on securing favoured status through covert means. Each one articulates expectation in phrases couched with elaborate ostentation, a delicate reminder of power's listeners, ever observant and often as calculating as you. Underneath this tenuous camaraderie grows the amplifying reality. Disloyalty here gifts a peculiar communication that escalates inquiries, begetting steel-clad narratives that force tongues to wag, grudgingly or unwittingly. Historians still grapple with tales of the master-apprentice relationship, pondering its depth and volatility, whether these connections were built upon mutual understanding or the tense exigencies of coiled necessity ready to strike at the slightest foul wind. Quirks and anecdotes abound in these alliances, with stories of apprentices becoming masters' mirrors, mirthful, roguish figures engaging in verbal repartee, their own satisfaction writ large across their cloistered society. Perhaps you've known one of these tales, a comrade ruffling a superior's feathers through cheeky banter, exposing the human frailty beneath formidable exteriors, while simultaneously securing favour through ingenious jest. There are also chronicles of those who fell from grace, unable to navigate the labyrinthine dance between empowerment and discretion, who found themselves irrevocably caught in the tumult they helped conjure. The history of the master-disciple dynamic is strewn with such fables, those who rose, those who misstepped, each colouring the tapestry in muted tones reflecting their wrought ideals. In this imperious embrace lies a lesson, for trust hovers not as a crutch but a bargaining chip, each venture undertaken with the implicit promise ever at heart. The unchecked flexibility and vigilance in preserving loyalty, ever vigilant beneath clandestine skies grown audacious in expectation's wake. You stand steadfast, a sentinel silhouetted against mistruth's latent ire, while the world whispers its unending discord. As night shepherds its stars in contemplative respite, you too drift into the embrace of an untempered vigilance, the taste of assurances bitter yet unwavering, pondering the paths untaken and the lengths traversed under banners unfurled, hinting at endless possibilities awaiting judgment. Thus, ensconced within the spectral dance of masters unseen and heard only by whispering consequence, your journey continues, acknowledgement acquired, piece by fraught piece. A testament to not only mortal persistence, inverse to the impending ebb of dawn, but also the inviolable balance between aspiration and shadow-inspired tonality. These alliances, tempered by time's unseen etchings, set your steps alight as you drift seamlessly into the ever-proliferating currents of whispered dusk, living continually in secrecy, shrouded by confidentiality and the whispers of clandestine operations, presents its own unique brand of solitude, a pervasive sense of isolation that has become your constant companion. In the business of shadows, the need for secrecy dictates relationships, governs interactions, and circumscribes the boundaries of your very existence. You find yourself performing an intricate dance of concealment, crafting a persona carefully curated and polished, keeping even the most mundane aspects of life obscured from prying gaze. Communication with the outside world is deliberately limited, reduced to punctuated interactions infused with half-truths. This orchestrated charade is finely tuned, as you adopt not just new identities, but emotions dictated by circumstances. Feigned familiarity, affected laughter, all contribute to a mosaic of deception, where discernment is critical and genuine vulnerability is divorced from necessity. The constant secret-keeping weighs heavily, a burden quietly shared among those in similar vocations. As an assassin, you live parallel to the world, watching from the periphery. In moments that allow reflection, you realize how the constant walls erected perpetuate an existence seasoned by the stringent solitude that lingers ever in plain sight, yet beyond reach. Historians still argue whether such rigorous sequestration was entirely necessary or an exaggerated caution coloring the pages of retrospect. But for you, the outcomes are felt daily. Despite the skepticism of some, your fountain of resilience remains undiluted, sourced from unexpected corners like eclipsed details in half-remembered stories of audacious folk heroes who purportedly maintained secrecy by speaking exclusively in riddles, veils concealing their intentions from all but the keenest ears. Yet, life amid such sustained trickery permits moments of sly humour in navigating societal veneers, identities thieved time and again in dizzying interchange. You delight in playful deception, perhaps employing humour as a confidant shares how once feigning invisible illness in a public square elicited indulgent townsfolk assistance, allowing recall of another moment woven past inconspicuous consequence. Your chosen lifestyle insists upon self-reliance, at times guiding shadows with cautious nods, or perceptive winks exchanged with fleeting passerby. Shared moments with those trusted few become almost ceremonial, forging bonds strengthened in a shared understanding that brushes upon the edges of revelation, yet shared entirely through wordless embraces and fleeting glances. Understandably, friendships that endure this intricate dance are rare gems, their quality unmatched by quantity. Even in this sanctuary, however, vigilance never abandons you. An omnipresent reminder whispered from dimly lit corners, resonated in precaution's ancestral mask worn in penance. Those who share your path become more than mere allies. They are sanctuary within sanctuary, birthing clusters of acceptance woven cautiously between moments of silence. The boundaries of opaqueness are paradoxically transparent, a testament to the unity of shadowed spirits where complexities bridge toward a shared cause, purpose lifted like wings, echoed back across time's woven furrow. As you find solace in clandestine company, the blend of longing and contentment dances restrained, entwining threads of desecrated trust spun into protective clarity. While individual inquiry may stimulate perplexity, subduing the heart's lull with memories mined from solitude, there is a shared recognition that secrecy bears its own crown, a dual-edged sword that, when wielded skillfully, assures survival and convergence onto pathways enshrouded in clandestine destiny. Thus, as twilight unfurls its inky tapestries, sheltering all within its persistent embrace, you stand connected yet apart, through a labyrinth knitted from secrets and silence, a fugue of friendship, marked by meaningful distance, and the bittersweet symmetry of shared experience adorning your sojourn's unique refrain. Secrecy's shadow guides your steps, challenging trust's limits while embracing paradoxical consonance. It encircles your existence, a presence until death's epilogue unfurls. Intrepid protector of a soul-allotted movement amidst the unyielding void of history's twilight-soaked corridors. In the end, secrecy resolves into a refuge, the place where narrative and isolation converge, offering your story sanctity beneath the sanctuary of night. Beneath the long cloak of secrecy and solitude lies the intricate weave of communal ties, temptation and uncertainty, a witness to the shadowy brotherhoods clandestinely operating within medieval society. These brotherhoods, often shrouded in mystique and speculation, form the arterial network within which like-minded individuals find belonging, camaraderie, and occasional treachery amidst whispered vows of loyalty. In the dim light of underground chambers or hidden alcoves within bustling taverns, the brothers and sisters of these secret guilds gather, a collective bound less by blood and more by shared purpose. It's here, amid the smoky haze and clinking of flagons, that alliances are forged, destines entwined, and targets dissected with the precision of a surgeon's knife. The camaraderie is tangible, though tinged with an undercurrent of caution. Within this circle of shadows, all is not always what it seems. While the outsider might imagine these societies as a singular monolithic entity, the truth lies closer to a patchwork quilt, each piece distinctive, woven from divergent motives and missions. Some focus their efforts on maintaining geopolitical stability, exerting subtle influence that swings the parameters of power. Others harbour personal grievances, driven by vendettas draped in coats of arms and clandestine artistry. Historians still argue whether these brotherhoods systematically reshaped political landscapes, or if their influence is largely exaggerated by folklore. Amidst their ranks you might brush shoulders with rogues of 1,000 faces, who have spun yarns as fanciful as they are misleading. It's not uncommon for humour to slice through tension like a well-aimed dagger, sparking tales of escapages gone awry, like the time a member dodged exposure by masquerading as a jester at a court function, improvising a comedic routine that became legendary in its unexpected success. The eccentricities of membership are as diverse as the characters populating this clandestine tapestry. Charms worn like second skins distinguish those within, where coded symbols subtly sewn into garments act as silent declarations of allegiance. Even the ritualistic greetings, a subtle dance of gesture and phrase, provide meaningful recognition amid the potential betrayal lurking at every corner. These brotherhoods craft an alchemical blend of espionage and enterprise. Like chess masters deliberating on moonlit balconies, strategies unfold in layers as encrypted as they are intricate, forming a symphony of purpose conducted with silent authority. They ensure that, within power's scaffolded architecture, threads are pulled, messages conveyed, and agendas pursued, quietly yet profoundly. Yet even in the confidence of camaraderie, you remain ever vigilant. Trust, edified through trials and exchanges, bears its weight under the cover of night, a fragile but cherished commodity. Friendships flourish, tendered in the crucible of joint enterprise. Stories and secrets are exchanged like gold beneath flickering candlelight, solidifying bonds while acknowledging ever-present risks. A tapestry of shadowy allegiance woven with both intricacy and trust. Occasionally, a hint of legend arises. Rumors swirl of groups rumored to meet clandestinely within the cloistered sanctity of abandoned monasteries, incorporating fragmented rituals from stolen scrolls written in languages few dare to decipher. These tales, whether embellished or otherwise, paint pictures of elaborate gatherings where oaths are sworn, veiling secrets intangible yet formative. Being part of such a brotherhood offers its own validation and vibrant connectedness, a sanctuary where your path is illuminated by shared goals. In this world where mistrust often overrules companionship, you find solace in knowing your sentiments are not solitary. Your purpose is shared by those similarly navigating the blurred lines of morality and survival. Through the merging of individual voices into a singular resonance, beneath star-kissed skies, you glimpse your role amid the broader canvas of shared history. It is within these alliances, burgeoned through necessity, that you settle patiently, pondering your part played amidst the dance of shadows delineating existence and narrative, destiny and ambition, all enshrined during night's gentle embrace. As dawn approaches, dispelling its tender embrace, the semblance of unity endures, a fugue of interconnected destiny where alliance, trust, and shared endeavor underscore every clandestine step shared by those treading paths once obscured by daylight. Through the brotherhood, you dance to a song uniquely composed, a melody resonating through caverns of companionship, shared rituals lighting your journey and leading you closer to the heart of Twilight's arcane symphony. Yet even within the safety of brotherhoods, the line between legend and reality blurs into a nuanced tapestry full of breathtaking tales and shifting truths. As you pursue your path in the shadows, you find yourself ingrained in legends eager to capture the dark allure of your life, stories that both amplify and obscure your true experiences. It's here the fabric of truth and myth become woven, where exploits grow larger with each telling. Imagine those medieval halls of whisper, where fires crackle in great stone hearths, casting a ruddy glow as storytellers recount the legendary figures of the shadow, of assassins said to possess supernatural abilities passed down through generations, or of mystical weapons wielded with unmatched dexterity. The stories grow as wondrous as they are implausible, the enticement of such tales never waning. You find yourself part of narratives that combine heroism with villainy, where your actions are both demonized and romanticized by those yearning for adventure and questioning the morality intertwined with your craft. In these stories, shadowy figures become enigmatic heroes enacting timely justice or thwarting tyrants, a simplistic trope transforming complex reality into digestible fiction. Historians still argue whether the tales told were careful embellishments crafted by the brotherhoods themselves to inspire fear, or whether they are the collective consciousness's attempt to cope with the esoteric and clandestine. Perhaps it's a blend of both, illustrating that human beings have long sought patterns in chaos, clarity amid shadows. Rooted in these legends are elements of whimsy and fantasy, such as tales of assassins blessed by mythical creatures or bestowed with invisibility cloaks woven from celestial silk. Such embroidered feats offer a touch of humor to offset the world's gravity. You might smile, recalling the story of the Laughing Shadow, an assassin who, according to popular lore, boasted that his victim's last sound was laughter, an amusing spin on the darker elements of your life. Yet despite the multiplying myths, you walk the pragmatic razor's edge of reality, aware that while legends flaunt larger-than-life adventures, life in shadows demands precision and ground-level engagement. The stories recounted in far-off courts rarely reflect the grizzled terrain beneath prickling skies, nor the frigid air that might slice through the heart of a deceptive evening. Every story is layered with a grain of truth, a characteristic event foggily remembered, or a stolen victory magnified into folklore. The legends often speak of unrivaled skill, but pursuit of individual prowess overlooks the tangible experiences, the planning, the uncertainty, and the subsequent improvisations leading towards success or lessons in failure. The brilliance of the life lies in the intersection of spontaneity with discipline, adjustment with anticipation, a harmony absent from unrealistic romanticizations. Intriguingly, some myths insert quirks of humanity into their tales. These stories illuminate peculiarities, such as warriors with strange dietary habits believed to lend them enhanced strength, or tales of precision so acute that they ensnare thunder from the darkest of storms. You laugh inwardly at these flights of fancy, as you forge your own narratives within the creaking spokes of opportunity. Through both myth and truth, the commonalities emerge, the tension between fear and curiosity, the quest for mastery in motion, and a resolute spirit driven to challenge both legend and reality. Those narratives preserve truth sanctified in secrecy and still echo through corridors of whispered memory and moonlit contemplation, a testament of movement between lore and living truth. Even as dusk descends over your deliberate progress, you discern the balance sustained between fabricated legend and the passage of waking existence. An art waltzing through the dawn of tales, enfolded in time's rapt embrace. The stories shared around firesides, in courts and beneath starlit skies, become a rhythm, a part of the heartbeat of history, inextricably woven with the authentic lives of shadows like you. Thus blending legend with reality, the twilight offers both shadow and substance, a stage where stories unfold through the reflecting lens of observant stars, bearing tribute to those who navigate the space between existence and the fantastical, embodying an ever-shifting tapestry, knit together by flickering resolve and dared destinies. As night falls, legends might capture populated imagination, yet it is in your unseen actions that life is truly lived, and history quietly unfurls its threads. Within the interplay of legend and reality, the true impact of your work begins to materialize, reflecting the subtleties underneath your shadowed existence. The role of a medieval assassin extends far beyond the cold whisper of metal meeting flesh, or the silent tread of feet against cobblestone. Your actions resonate through the very fabric of medieval society, altering the course of events in ways both seen and unseen, moving silently within the broader tapestry of history. Despite the perception of your work as mere disruption or chaos, you understand the underlying equilibrium at play, an unspoken influence that shifts political landscapes, nudging the balance of power, steering the tides of war and peace like unseen tides, sculpting shorelines. It's not about mere killing. It's a nuanced performance art that speaks to the heart of ambition, governance, and the intertwined destinies of nations and rulers, regardless of how anonymously these hands ply their trade. This shadowed craft you practice is less an isolated act than a delicate chess game, weighed by broader strategic significance. The removal of a singular figure can tilt alliances, unravel consortiums, and force reluctant foes into alliances, regardless of history's infamy whispered on foreboding nights. Think of the monarch's whisper, abruptly silenced, breathing life into new regimes which now challenge ways thought immovable. This clandestine influence, though largely denied in polished accounts, proves an indelible undertone framing societal evolution. Historians still argue whether these acts merely expedited already unraveling tensions, or preserved realms from advanced devastation by preemptive sorcery at its pragmatic best, a question eternally stitched onto parchment accounts debating tactics. In this shadowy realm, humour occasionally finds place, where stories come alive with cunning strategies winning undesired victories. Plots gone awry sometimes restoring a forgotten equilibrium in unforeseen avenues of recall. The anecdote of an ambitious guild famously thwarting their own job due to inadvertent collusion, evolutions sparking unintended consequences, shifting pernicious influence elsewhere, tickles memory as balm against otherwise severe or ponderous outcomes. These unseen effects lead to peculiar coincidences emerging unpredictable yet pivotal, veiled beneath intricate machinations in dynamically morphing settings whose outcomes claim little credit to history's crown. The indirect consequences ripple outward, remarkably significant when truth's fragile veil yields the litmus within recesses obscured by reflection's shunned gaze. Thus, fractured alliances and steadfast loyalties woven through states' fragile architectures only serve to emphasize the potency of actions taken beneath silken masks and hide awash in midnight's glaze. Paradoxically, while your anonymity persists, your influence looms vast, which renders the delicate irony of your role bittersweet. Though singing your praises might happen in hushed conspiratorial circles, outlasting success stirs awareness within rulers themselves, whose recognition remains intangible but acknowledged deep within kingship's vulnerable heart. Yet, even as your shadow grows familiar as the night's empress, the quest ingrained endures. The ethereal mission may be lonely and invisible on so far historical record or memory, held tight in nocturnal majesty, but made tangible through impact's gentle weight. The vow to guide society's fine balance animates resolve anew, casting silence as anticipation patiently endures within mirrored shadows, intents unplayfully crafted, humility presiding. Onward from shadow's earthy grasp, night yields morning's herald, claiming both heralded yield and unseen past. The moment's realization knits its tapestry anew, within those unexpected patterns echoing stillness against awareness revealed. As candlelight's soft embrace welcomes whispered stories strewn by gatherers of darkness honed across time's dynamic canvas. Thus, in the cessation of one movement's final arbitrary beauty, you pause, allowing echoes softly inhered between repose and revelation, the ultimate counsel worn best in stillness. Knitted calmer tribute to influences etched within each step unraveled by fate, undetected hands perpetuating life's chosen course. Shadow falters yet flares, interweaving whispered entanglements knit delicately by night sphere. The intertwining realms sing tribute behind curtains, drawn by dusk's meticulous embrace. As the intricate dance of influence you partake in sways society unseen, you inevitably ponder the concept of cessation. The prospect of retiring from this enigmatic life entrenched in shadows. Retirement presents its own paradoxes, as leaving behind the secrets and solitude for a semblance of normalcy can be as jarring as the life you once embraced with fervor. The journey toward the end of an assassin's road begins not with clamorous fanfare, but with a quiet realization lingering on the edges of consciousness. A whisper of longing for peace in nights spent beneath stars that comfort rather than conceal. You start to yearn for the possibility of life unbounded by constant vigilance. A world where you might finally let your guard slip and embrace the ease denied through years of shadow walking. Imagine the difficulty in fading into obscurity when long have you been an enigma, a spectre defined by uncertainty and calculated precision. Relinquishing the trappings of such an existence, unshackling from the veils draped heavily over your persona, might appear at first a liberation but unfolds into a challenge in its own right. Historians still argue whether many assassins managed to truly leave behind the life, or if, like echoes in a vast chasm, reminiscences of their shadowed past reverberated until their final days. The world away from clandestine enterprise presents opportunities as much as it surfaces unanticipated difficulties. Coloured by identities reconstructed through necessity, rather than genuine rebirth, integrating into everyday life requires not merely a change in circumstance, but an adaptation at the intrinsic level, often forcing a re-evaluation of selfhood buried deep within the confines of previous roles. There is a persistent undertow, a lingering paranoia carried forward, like the song of a distant echo you can never quite forget, summoning vigilance even when none appears required. The skills honed for survival remain ingrained, embedded in muscle memory and conscious thought, as laughter arises at idle quirks like instinctively scanning crowds in the marketplace or reflexively avoiding long shadows with nonchalant precision. Even the inclinations toward camaraderie shift, the loyalty once esteemed within guild circles and brotherhoods given pause amid chatter unidentified by hidden meanings. As you step away from shadows, you may find fresh engagement in relationships or newfound friendships that do not carry the burden of ulterior motives or unspoken pledges. A lightness instilled into interactions that surprises, yet somehow delights, like sunlight after twilight's embrace. Whimsical tales colour the murmurings of those who retired gracefully, recounting vivid adventures past, wrapped playfully amid night's mystique now softly observed rather than intimately embraced. One well-known lore suggests an assassin who retired to become a simple clockmaker, a figure of precision taking comfort not in time stolen, but in its faithful advancement, building and restoring the mechanisms ticking steadily onward. Yet, amid the levity dances an unyielding bond of experience, forming a pillar supporting seasoned wanderers who continue across this ever-spiraling journey defined by fate. Their past is a companion, not of choices angling toward regret, but of breath and breadth. In leaving the red-tinted night behind, you discover that identity need not yield to anonymity's artifice, to embrace opportunity anew, bolstered by past deeds, while charting vibrant futures unwritten. You come to appreciate memories meticulously woven, made for the ages, when wraith-like travels once shadowed vitality and secrecy rendered in whispered truths, offers relics gallantly preserved by travelers careworn but unbowed. In losing shadows, you gain newfound clarity, passages titled toward openness often bypassed, for routes obscured, betray unexpected fruition, viewed now beneath unclouded skies. The unforeseen potential materializes from the intimacy of experience wrought over years unnumbered yet cherished still. You sail serenely ahead, toward roads beguiling, signaled by future hope, whose beacons unfurl upon vast horizons unimagined yet unlocked by this mysterious measure called time. Thus your journey toward retirement shapes futures ebon-clad and gleaming anew, transcending beyond the realm kept dark, now rekindled within dawn's tender grace, forever lit by twilight's lingering glow, casting harmonious bonds onto possibilities uncelebrated anew. They yearn for your rediscovery, upon paths once traversed and traced clandestinely, in a state unconsidered before. The tale of your shadowed past slowly unfurls into a new chapter of modern mythos. The legacy of the assassin through history, its stories threading into the narratives of present day with fascination and intrigue. Even as you step away, the phantom of your past clings to history's fabric, weaving echoes of your existence into the realms of representation and reinterpretation across cultures and generations. In the grand narrative of time, the figure of the medieval assassin endures, influencing myth-making processes and clinging tenaciously to the minds of storytellers, artists, and historians. These shadow warriors have become timeless symbols, multifaceted emblems representing the complexity of moral ambiguity, the power struggles of politics, and the eternal allure of the clandestine. Through the ages, stories of assassins find verdant soil in art, literature, and folklore, reshaped and retold from one epoch to another. From epic poems that sang the daring exploits of clandestine heroes, to Renaissance paintings capturing the brooding mystique of shadowy figures perched on chaotically composed backdrops, the assassin becomes a muse, a figure both feared and admired. Historians still argue whether this myth-building adjusted the perception of assassins as solitary figures or as belonging to a larger, unseen network. Even in modern culture, these tales continue to enthrall, a fertile ground exploited by novels, films, and video games that embrace allure and spectacle, toying with ideals of stealth, strategy, and the breach between autonomy and allegiance. These portrayals grapple with themes of loyalty and redemption, reflecting societal fascination captured anew in each retelling. The assassin steps from the shadows into our collective consciousness as a byword for intrigue and dexterity. Amidst these narratives, peculiar anecdotes pique curiosity, fantastical tales about codes hidden within ancient texts, or secretive training grounds concealed in plain sight, all sustaining mythos through generations. There's a quiet humour in how the ordinary merges with the extraordinary, such as mistaken interpretations of shadowy figures slipping silently through bustling markets, or past forsaken alleyways. A nod to the artistry of unseen movement, both in myth and memory. Each thread pulled from these stories poses questions about identity, challenging perceptions shaped by romanticized retellings. Woven into fabric more complex than first appears, a kaleidoscopic mural combining flights of fantasy and pinpricks of reality in veritable harmony. In this confluence of story and spectacle, your legacy lives on, navigating through lore steeped in shrouded deeds and clandestine heroism. An understanding emerges, shaped by acknowledgement that every whispered night, symphonic deception, and cautious revelation matters more profoundly than simply its completion or intention. The mythology of the assassin, crafted from history and expanded by imagination, resonates still. As you sift carefully through this evolving narrative, both a bearer of past works and a creator of future passages, embrace the contradiction of being ever-present yet perpetually unseen. Your life's canvas detailing intersections carved not solely from deliberations of fate, but through conscious decisions labor, intricately spun between belief and distillation. Through your journey, rendered in dusk's elegant script, lessons emerge that shadows, when illuminated through retelling, serve not as ephemeral shades, but as transcendent reminders of the vast array of human endeavor and significance. By sharing, by encrypting myth alongside legacy, you follow a softly unfolding passageway, a respite of woven tales designed to enlighten, likewise embracing solitude's quiet dignity within history's labyrinth. Thus, as the legion of stories bid you forward into history, nudging paths toward the uncharted realm veiled by existing boundaries, you gently concede that every step brings you ever closer to reclaiming vast potentials undiscovered, a graceful testament to the shared humanity beneath our shared stars. The final paths stretch into vistas broadened from eternal mystery, a legacy waiting, founded upon promise, shadow, and fate. As the dusk draws slowly over your extensive narrative, you find solace wrapped within the night, whispering softly over the expanding landscapes of memory and mythology. Here your tales endure, kindled into dreams by those who find inspiration in the shadows of history's unwritten lines. Walking quietly beside you, both wraith-like and brilliantly alive, as your legacy intertwines with the fabric of history, you find a gentle pull towards the dimming lights, a tender closure of this odyssey through the shadows. The journey's end, a space of reflective tranquility, offers an opportunity to draw breath and consider the spectrum of experiences defining your path. Here, in the soft embrace of conclusion, you return to the quiet moments that sustain life amid shadows, basking in the legacy carved gently into the world's consciousness. Time may transform and civilizations may change, but the quest and the questions that accompany your life endure, jotted in sacred spaces beneath stars, casting narratives anew. Histories propel forth without you, but the recognition of your path echoes in the faint heartbeats of generations that follow. The tales you birthed ripple through the ineffable veil of memory, leaving their mark upon stones, scrolls, and the whispered stories at the hearth. You linger for a moment longer, feet planted upon the nightlife of yesteryear with all its secrets and symphonies. The virtues tamed and the sins recorded reflect on the water's surface, a mirror image of bygone days and fulfilled destinies. Within these final folds of shadow, you find a tranquil solitude, knowing you've contributed enduring notes to the timeless song of the ages. As the soft whispers of the past fade, bittersweet against the horizon of what was, you release your presence to the boundless sky and embrace the peace afforded within night's gentle grasp. Your tale continues to flow quietly under the watchful eyes of the stars, reminders of the interconnectedness between what is known and what remains a mystery. Allow yourself to draw comfort in this eternal tapestry you now weave into a dusk. The whispers of adventures past cradle your senses, as this moment gracefully fades to rest, a cherished haven wrapped in the nurturing warmth and inner reflection. You glide into the realms of promise extended, gathered into dreams inspired by the echoes of footfalls taken. Eventually, night's quiet overture lulls you into gentle slumber, placing the curtains softly over the world you helped shape through shadows and light.